Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and today an interview with a difference. I'm talking to the one and only Bear Drylls, or Rob Horton, for those of us that know him well. And we are doing our top three. We're comparing our top three lists of things that you should be doing in lockdown as a cheer athlete to make sure you're at your absolute best when you get in the gym. It's a really fun segment, really excited for you guys to see this. If you like the video, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, share it with your friends, comment down below. All of those good things you know by now. They really help the channel, so go do those and enjoy the interview. Excited, joined today by the one and only Bear Drylls himself, Rob Horton. Thanks for joining.
Hi guys, thank you for having me.
So we're doing something a little different today, actually. Rather than just the standard me ask you a whole bunch of questions about yourselves and various topics and things, where we're trying a whole new format, which is going to be our top three. We're going to each give our top three things, and our subject is top three things you should be doing in lockdown as a cheer athlete, I think, really. I don't know how well we specified that. We haven't compared notes on this, so we might have the same three, or they might be completely different. I don't know what direction you've gone with this, whether you've gone really narrow or really broad. I've kind of gone a combination, I think, of the two. So it's going to be an interesting one. But before we get into that, just give us your quick rundown, just in case anybody doesn't know you, which I'm sure they all do by now. Just give us a quick rundown on your background and who you are and what you do and all that business.
Okay, I didn't actually prepare for that bit. So, my name's Rob Horton. I've been a cheerleader since around 2003, so that puts me at about 18 years. And in that time, I've been with the Ascension Eagles, who are out of East London, and I think they are 25 years old, 26 this year, I think, actually. But yeah, that's pretty much me for the last 2 decades. I was very lucky early on. Got to compete at Worlds a couple of times, and then through one competed with Legacy and then with the Eternity team. But I was always interested in tumbling, and in the early days, it was a bit touch and go of what tumbling looked like. And as things have sort of developed over the last 10 years or so, tumbling has taken a whole different sort of look, and it's been really nice to be a part of that for the UK. How's that?
Well, that's good. And now, of course, you know, you have your own brand. I think you're selling yourself very short on this stuff. You have your own brand. You might have a band, I don't know, but your own brand. Bear Drylls and RH cheer camps. I mean, you know, tell us more about all of that stuff.
Okay, so yeah, I had an Instagram page that was kind of set up by accident. Me and Gareth were messing around one day about what we could call each other, and obviously he's Big G, and then I was running around with the idea of Bear, and then sort of Bear Drylls came up. So I set up because I don't know, it was just a bit of silliness, but it became an Instagram page, and that kind of took off and had a life of its own. And then as things progressed, started getting requests for clinics, and that's where RH clinics came from, really. So it's been quite good the last 2 years, particularly. I think we officially became a business in 2019, so it's been about 2 years now, or maybe it's 2018, but it's been about 2 years, and it's growing quite well. So yeah, just looking forward to lockdown coming to a close so I can get back to doing the fun stuff, really.
Aren't we all? Yeah. Now, I love the Bear Drylls thing. I remember sort of stumbling across it at some point and thinking it was just a stroke of genius in terms of like the name of the branding. And I had no idea it was you, because we've known each other, you know, back since about 2003. We pretty much got into the sport at the same time. And yeah, it was quite a while, I think, before I figured out that was actually you. And yeah, I love the branding. I think it's hilarious.
That's because I was too scared to get in front of the camera, so I just used to post videos and then write stuff underneath them. I can't bear the sound of my own voice, but there you are.
All right. Well, you're going to have to bear it for a little while as we go through this stuff, or you could just never watch the video back, I suppose. But hopefully, other people will. Okay, so Yeah, we are going to go through, we're going to go head to head, if you like, on our top 3 things you should be doing in lockdown as a cheer athlete. I think that's the right heading. I think we've opened this up pretty wide.
Yeah.
So as the guest, I don't know if yours are in, mine are not really in a particular order. It's not like one is the most important and 3 is not.
Okay.
But, I don't know if yours are, but as the guest, I'm going to allow you to go first. So if you'd like to give us your number 3, we'll discuss.
So I did do mine in terms of what I thought was the most important. So I think they're all valuable, but number 1 is the top for me, and then I've gone 3, 2, 1. So I'll start with number 3, and then I'll work my way up to what I think is the most important one. But as a tumble coach, I suppose a lot of the work I've done over the 3 lockdowns that we've had has been tumble related. And one of the things that I felt benefited athletes after we returned, particularly after lockdown 1, was the shape work that I've done with them in the Zoom classes and things like that. So I think one of the best things from a tumble perspective that athletes can be working on is their shape work. And the way that I suppose I would describe that is that whenever I try to teach tumbles, I try to sort of put it into the athletes' minds that tumbling is just made up of shapes that are joined together, and then they create the skill that you're working towards. And so in terms of the work that I did quite a lot on during these Zoom classes, we focused on the athletic position, the pass, the lunge, the handstand, the bridge, the hollow, the arch, the tuck, and the shoulder stand. So kind of centered around 9 key shapes that, when combined together, would make up most of the skills that you're going to perform in cheerleading. And the way that the athletes, it was a muscle memory thing that I was going for. If I could get those shapes right at home, coming back into the gym would be a lot easier, because the athletes would already kind of have good muscle memory in place to then work on the skills that they wanted to achieve when they came back. So for me, one of the top things was the tumble shapes.
Yeah, I like that. That's you know what, I totally agree with you, because it's really like key, it's really core to the way I teach tumbling stuff. Is I want athletes to understand that shaping stuff first. And actually, a few years back at World Cup, when I was one of the teams I was tumbling, I was the tumbling coach for, was the mini team, and we was working did that class with 2 other coaches, and that was really, I mean, it's primarily almost a shaping class. The start of every class would start with literally running through shapes, you know, your hollow, tuck, pike, arch and hollow, different variations, all of that shaping stuff, adding new ones in occasionally, and not just correcting the body positions, but teaching the language. Because one of the things I find is if I want a kid to hit a hollow position in whatever skill, they need to actually understand what a hollow position is. And so many times I'm like, yeah, you need to be hollow. Well, if you haven't communicated that understanding of what hollow actually means, and sometimes that gets completely missed. You know, if you get all the way to whatever down the line, like, you need to be more hollow, and the kid has no idea what you're talking about. So educating, you know, the language of how you're going to explain things that you're going to use, yeah, I think is really, really key.
I completely agree with you. Actually, we do recreational classes at Talent Central. So we teach athletes who aren't necessarily cheerleaders gymnastics, in the hope that they might want to transition into the program. And all of our work is basically shape work and level 0 sort of variations, so that by the time they do join the program, if they decide to join the program, they've already got really good foundations. And it actually reminds me of a book that I read recently. I did a book cast on it, actually, but it's by a guy called Coach Lane, and he did Outperforming Fear. And one of the points he makes in that book is about, if I told you to jump as a person who has never done tumbling before, the trigger in your brain is going to be how you were taught to jump as a child, and that's going to be the position that you take up, and that will be your kind of natural athletic position, right? But unless you know what an athletic position looks like, you're never going to be able to tumble the way that you're trying to, because in your brain all you have is that initial natural, this is how I jump. And so it's kind of like the shape work has been useful because it's kind of like a resetting of whatever you have in your mind, and then using that as then the new base zero to go forward into the skills that you're trying to learn. So yeah, it's good because of that, I suppose, the resetting of the athlete's mindset.
And it's, I mean, it's ideal work as well if you have very little space, and because you don't have to really, you can do most of it sitting, lying on the floor, just practicing the shapes. It's, it's perfect for homework for sure. All right, let me go to my number 3. Mine are a bit themed, actually. They're all sort of a bit in a theme. I don't know, they almost track one to the next, but and I'm sure we're going to cross over areas a little bit. So my number 3 I have down is analyze your technique. So, I mean, I was thinking primarily in tumbling, but it could equally go for jumps, which, is an individual skill. So something I've been recommending to no end of people, and, it would be great if I'd recommended this a year ago when it all started, I suppose. Take your phone or, whatever camera setup you've got, take your phone and record yourself doing your skills, and then look at it in slow motion, look at your shapes. They're going to be a huge part of it, or ask your coach to look at it and give you feedback and stuff. I mean, I have athletes who will just randomly like send me a video. I just did this on my air track. What am I doing wrong? Like,
well,
there might be a world of things. But, it again comes to that self-awareness and understanding what you're doing. If you can, I mean, one of the best tools you can have as a tumbler is to learn to feel whether you're doing things right or wrong as you're going along. But that's not always easy. So, just about everybody has a phone in their hand, or someone, mum, dad has one, whatever, that you can use and record. You can even have slow-mo on half these phones now. You can record it and break down and take the advice and the coaching you've had, look at something, even if it's just your cartwheel right now that you can do inside. I can find 100 things wrong in most people's cartwheels if you break them down slow enough. So go, okay, simple stuff. Are my legs straight? Are my toes pointed in those level 1 skills and things? Is my head tucked in where it's supposed to be? All that advice that you've been getting from coaches over the years, you have the opportunity to slow down, look at it and look, are you doing right? And then, if you're not sure, solicit the appropriate feedback from whoever you've got. And that gives you the basis, that gives you then a starting point, which will feed into my other things as you go along for then what you can train and how you ought to train. Because there's no point just, going, okay, I'm going to do all these random drills and all this stuff. Everything, I'm big on strategy. I always want a strategy behind what I'm training for. I want my athletes to go, okay, this is what I want to achieve. This is how I'm going to get there. To do that, you've got to know where you want to go. You first got to know where you're at. So analyze technique is definitely, it's my first one.
Yeah, I think that's good because we're taught in school to like proofread and go over our work, and then we look at our marking, but I don't always feel like we do enough of it in cheerleading. And so if we can, and when I say we, I mean athletes in general, because if you're off the habit of just being told what's wrong, then you never really have ownership of how you can move forward because you're always relying on somebody else. But if you can learn to kind of rely on your own understanding, so like if you do a back handspring and you throw your head, there's a good chance you're not supposed to be throwing your head. So it's about evaluating that performance and then thinking about, okay, what do I need to be able to do to learn not to throw my head? Is it just a case of I need to be faster with my arms, or do I need to spot my toes or whatever it is before I swing into my athletic position? Because I need to keep that neutral shape. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to perform the skill that's going to allow me to progress to level 3 and then make it a 2 to tuck or a layout later on. So I think, if athletes can learn that ownership, they're going to become better athletes going forward anyway.
Yeah, and I think,
I'm with you.
For me, I think from experience, the athletes that ask the most questions are the ones that progress the fastest because they're being inquisitive and they're self-analytical rather than, just relying on external feedback, which, as a coach, if you've got 20 kids in a class, you can't be giving everyone constant feedback. It's just not possible. So the more you can analyze yourself, the better, I think, for sure.
Being active rather than passive, isn't it? Be an active learner.
Yeah,
be involved in what you're learning, and that'll make you better overall, I think.
All right, give us your number 2, if you'll excuse the turn of phrase.
All right, yeah, I'll do that with a straight face. Yeah, so the number 2 one for me, I think, does kind of lend to what you were saying, in that I would do as much drilling as possible. Now, in terms of the drilling, that's going to be relevant. That's going to be dependent based on what you have available to you. You know, some athletes have tracks, they have wedges, they have things.
Oh God, I've seen people with whole gyms in their living rooms. I don't know. I don't know where people are sitting to watch TV, because it's just entirely taken up with air tracks. But
people just seem to have so much stuff, and then at the same time, people are using their sofas or toilet rolls. And you know, obviously, I'm big on toilet rolls. Like, if I can get a toilet roll into a class, I will get a toilet roll into a class.
See, I know nothing about this, so you're gonna have to give me the whole toilet roll thing at some point. That's a new tool for me. Toilet roll drills.
No, I mean, you know, I'm not kind of like unique in this. I know that lots of people have been really lots of other coaches have been really creative in terms of the equipment they use from home. So I'm very big on toilet rolls, but I know that people have used bags, and trainers have used eggs. I think Gareth uses eggs. Like,
yeah, I would love to know what he's doing with those too. I need to take.
I would love to know what's going on in those classes, but you know, people are loving and engaging with those classes, so that's great. But I think that so for me, in terms of drilling, regardless of how that drilling looks to you, whether you have equipment or a sofa, make it work for you. And I think, like, so for me, I set out and I made these home tumble drills videos that tried their very best to cover level 0 all the way up to you know, level 5, 6 as best as I could. But although those videos don't necessarily encourage you to throw the skills, you know, I don't encourage anyone to perform something they don't know how to perform. But at the same time, if you're getting those reps in, you're teaching your body to remember what it feels like. Even if you're not upside down when you're doing it, your body knows what it should feel like and what it should do at a certain juncture. And I think that that's really important. So I would say to athletes, don't underestimate the value of drill work, regardless of what that looks like. So for me, I would always sing to the rooftops about home tumble drills, because, you know, I think they're useful, and they seem to have done quite well in terms of the way that people have engaged with them. But whatever drilling looks like for you, get your reps in to work that muscle memory and to make you a stronger athlete overall. The more that your body is aware of what it should feel like, the easier it will be for you to recreate that and progress with it when you do get back into the gym. And obviously, again, I suppose it's a bit like what I said in the shape work. It's giving you that ownership. You're owning your skill because you know what it should feel like, or you're getting closer to knowing what it should feel like, and then you're making your life easier. But with both of these things, and this is what I think is particularly important about shape and home drilling, is it's the confidence that it gives you because you are more aware of what certain things should feel like. And I think that confidence is massively underrated. I am one of those people who think that the word block gets thrown around too easily, because I don't think that block exists in the way that we allow ourselves to believe it does. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I think we allow ourselves to believe it's more frequent than it actually is. There's a difference between being scared and being scared to death. And that's kind of like, you know, it's a really kind of base description, but you know, there is a massive difference in being frozen still and not letting yourself do a tumble. And that's kind of like, you know, that kind of split. So get as many reps in and let your body know what something feels like, so you have the confidence to do what you need to do, so you can be the athlete that you want to be, I think would be the best way to say it.
Yeah, I mean, most people, of course, don't have the facility to keep throwing their passes and their skills right now. So the one thing you can't maintain very easily is that the true memory, if you like, the awareness and the feel. You know when you, I mean, I know there's times if I had like a week off, you know, between throwing a skill. You get that moment of it just feels alien, and it takes a couple to get back into it. Well, now multiply that by however many weeks it's been. But you can keep training, like you say, the muscle memory, the feel of the movements. You know, that's as close as, if that's as close as you can get right now. There's massive value in that. So absolutely. Okay, my second one. I'm sort of progressing
You
from my
avoided
first one,
saying
really.
number 2, my number 2. You
No, you see, I purposely chose that. My second one. Yeah, so I'm moving on from analyzing your technique and understanding where you're currently at, to now my next one is test yourself. So something I'm really big on, establish a baseline of your current performance. So this is maybe more applicable to conditioning type stuff. So it could be as simple, you know, one of the baseline tests that I use with my teams is 2.5 minutes. How many burpees can you do? Just as a base fitness test. That's the length of a routine. So if you can do 30 burpees in 2.5 minutes right now, we're going to work on our conditioning program for the next month. And next month, we're going to test that again and see if you can now do 40 because you've gotten that much fitter. Because you need data to work with to establish stuff. So in terms of technique, you know, if your current goal is to improve your cartwheel technique, then okay, hopefully you've done your analysis, you've videoed it and you've looked at it, and then you work on the drills, and then in a month's time, video it and analyze it again. Like, we could look at it that way. It's kind of the same thing. Has that technique improved? Or, you know, I see a lot of people doing testing with their jumps of, okay, I want you to take a picture of the highest point of your toe touch right now, and then we're going to do all our jump drills, and then in a month's time we're going to do that same thing again. So establishing that baseline for those things that you can, with particularly with fitness and strength and everything else, and then again, it's building that strategy. You know, establish the strategy. Here's then what I'm going to work on. If I want to improve this, I'm going to do handstands for 10 minutes a day to improve my handstand skill, and then see how long I can hold it for next month. Whatever that test is, whatever you're interested in improving, you've got to have the data to start with. I think if too many people go into something with just an abstract goal of, okay, I want to be better at handstands.
Yeah.
Right. How are you going to do that? And how are you going to know if you got any better at your handstands? Like, you feel like you're better at handstands now? I don't know. So if you don't have actual data, if you don't have, I can do 100 push-ups now without stopping, which I could only do 3 a month ago, then you know you've really improved. So that's my second one, is establish your data and then test yourself. You know, we've got hopefully 6 weeks now until we can get back in the gym. That's a great period of time to achieve improvement in just about anything. So if you got a particular goal, whatever it is, or you want to be fit, you know, if you feel like lockdown, like me, like lockdown has put a few pounds on your bones, or whatever it is, or your fitness has suffered and dropped off, then okay, when we get back in the gym, I want to be fit enough to deal with training. Then take a fitness test today, spend the next 6 weeks doing your conditioning and training and doing your next level videos that are all available on the YouTube channel. Then in 6 weeks time, or even halfway through that, test yourself, see if you're improving, because that will keep your motivation going as well.
I think that element of doing the same strategy but using time as in counts could be really useful as well. So say, for argument's sake, something on Majesty that in the senior 2 team that I coach, our goal is to have a 3 count back handspring. So that means that the athletic position has to have a really good sit on the 1. The arms don't come forward, they go straight back. Arms to ears on 2, hands on the floor on, and finish on 3. 1, 2, and 3. That's how long the back handspring lasts. And so if, for argument's sake, that was a time restraint that you were working on, record your back handspring now. Where are you at? Are you at 4? Are you at 4 and? What do you need to do then to make that time constraint become the 3 count back handspring that you're looking for? And that will give you something very visible, because you will know if you are doing it in 3 or higher. but then also it will give you something to look back on in terms of analysing your technique and thinking, right, why can't I do a 3 count back handspring? I know they're possible, but why can't I do one? Why am I not hitting it on 3? And so, and those kind of challenges are the type of thing that will motivate you to do more, because you're like, I want to do it on 3. Why aren't I doing it on 3? So I think anything like that where you can measure yourself where you were and where you are a really good way to kind of develop yourself as an athlete. And you don't need anyone to tell you what to do.
That's it. I mean, as a sport, we tend to be very qualitatively focused. Everything's on, you know, because ultimately that's how the sport works. We work on feedback from people that's qualitative. I like this, I don't like this, this was good, this was bad. Yes, there are numbers, but I think the more stuff that you can make quantitative in terms of training in particular, and you have, again, data to work with, I think that was a huge stride we could take forward as coaches in general and in the whole sport, just using more quantitative research and a little more science behind what we do.
Nicely said.
Come on then. Give us your top tip. Give us your number one.
My number one might surprise you, because it kind of comes away from everything that I've been saying, actually, and I don't want it to undermine what I've been saying, because shape work and home tumble drills are literally the foundations on which I deliver clinics. But in terms of the top tip for lockdown for me, anyway, is to stay in contact with cheer in general, and I mean that from a physical well-being as well as a mental well-being kind of perspective, but also just as remember why you love something, because it's so easy when you're cut off from something for so long to fall away from it. And across the whole country, athletes have left cheerleading because of just not being able to do it. And of course there are other reasons as well, because, you know, lots of people are struggling financially, and you know, that's different to what the main point here is if you can stay in contact with cheer, stay in contact with cheer. So in terms of your program, attend the Zooms, work out, do the silly classes where you have to dress up and whatever else. But, you know, that's the foundation of cheer, is a lot of the time built on the relationship you have with the people that you're cheering with. And that is one of the reasons why you go back, because cheerleading is niche and there's not loads of people who do it, and they're people who are just like you. So, you know, remember why you do cheer and stay with it, because I know it's hard to do Zoom classes and it's not always the most enjoyable thing you could do in the world, because there's nothing more enjoyable than being in the gym and doing cheerleading, you know. But we're nearly there. 6 weeks, 5.5 weeks, we're nearly there. Stay in contact with your programs, because they do care for you and they're trying to, you know, put everything out there so that when you do come back, you're ready to hit the ground running and hopefully get to nationals in July, if it happens, or however that happens and what it looks like, you know.
When? We'll be positive.
Well, absolutely, of course. And, you know, and I said, one of the things I said was, remember why you love cheer. Watch the videos of your favorite routines ever. I can't tell you how many times I go back to watch 2006 and 2008 Top Gun. Like, those routines.
Always Top Gun 2008. That's the routine.
The 2008 one.
Yeah.
Like, I still watch those routines and just think, like, that should be illegal. Someone arrest them.
Probably is now.
That's true as well. But like, that's, you know, remember the stuff that made you love it, because it's the stuff that's going to bring you back. One of the things I've been doing is I've just been saving videos. I follow tumble coaches that are really good. I look at what they're teaching, because they're allowed to teach in America. I'm not bitter about it at all. But I'm watching those videos and I'm like, save. I want to try that, because I can see how it's going to be really useful for the athletes I work with. But at the same time, I follow lower levels cheer. I coach a level 2 team. I'm going to have to start getting ready for the next season at some point. I want to see something creative that makes me think, oh, I want to try that. So, you know, it's hard being at home, but I'm still trying to like stay as much as I can, so that I can be ready and my athletes can be ready. And then the same thing for athletes. Look at what you want to do. Do you want to learn how to do a tuck? Well, if you see a video that looks like it might get you there, save it, watch it, learn from it, and get ready to do it when you can get into the gym. And I suppose alongside that, remembering why you love cheer, make plans for what you want to achieve. Will it, one of the things that I read somewhere, I think it was in maybe The Secret, or maybe someone said it to me, will it into existence. If you want to be at nationals this year, taking first place, treat it like it's going to happen. Train like it's going to happen, because those are the things that will get you there. And then I suppose on the other side of that, the well-being perspective, how many people have been inactive during these lockdowns, and it's having an effect on physical and mental well-being. So stay involved with your programs, because they're putting out content that's going to keep you physical. It's going to keep you well. It's going to keep you building relationships, even if you are wearing a silly outfit for that themed practice. Like, you're laughing at yourself, you're laughing at your friends, and you're doing it all within your cheer world, which is great. So yeah, to kind of come away from shakes and home tumble drills, stay in contact with cheer, because your coaches love you, and your teammates love you, and the community loves you. So
yeah, I think there's one of the real keys for me to just coping with this entire fiasco has been trying to see opportunities in it. You know, something I've talked to a lot of coaches about in the last couple of weeks is, you know, well, the opportunity you have with a fresh start, if you like, coming up. You know, I've talked to a lot of people in these interviews about the opportunities it's presented to us as coaches to develop new techniques and look at things differently. You know, in general, when I've, you know, looked at the whole thing of as just, okay, I have the opportunity to spend more time at home, you know, to have time to do things. Okay, there's a lot of negatives about it, but there are positives potentially. You can create positives if you look for it. And that becomes, you know, therapeutic in itself. And then staying in contact and being on your classes and everything else it's therapeutic for everyone. You know, it's good for the athletes physically, and, you know, the physical side obviously then reinforces the mental health side. It's good for coaches to still see their athletes and know that what they're delivering is gaining a positive response and that they're enjoying it. You know, it's good for everybody, and that positive energy reinforces each other back and forward. So absolutely.
Yeah. I used to like try and be creative just for the sake of like being creative. Like, I'm going to set this up for the round off flip tuck. And actually, like, one of the things that I've learned through the last year, the Zoom classes, the home tumble drills, the shape stuff, sometimes less is more. So in terms of like a personal progression from this, and what I've learned is that when I do get back into the gym, some of this stuff that I've been doing for home classes is probably going to become the most valuable stuff in my sessions. And then comes the drill work afterwards. So I think that I've learned so much from not being able to use much in the way that it's going to, you know, allow me to teach going forward. So, you know, if you're pulling positives from something like this, which has been, you know, very hard for everyone, the way that I teach is, I think, going to change, and I'm excited to kind of learn from it and use it.
Definitely. All right. Go to my number one, which I should let you go second, because I feel like mine's a bit meh now.
Don't say that.
Well, I'm actually, you know what, I'm going to expand my number one on the spot slightly, because because I'm surprised that neither of us kind of hit this. So, which might be the reason I didn't put it on the list. Because I feel like, so my number one that I'd written down is handstands. Sort of the opposite end of the spectrum. Rather than you're like, you know, abstract, if you like, conceptual with yours, I'm like, do this skill. So I'm going to expand it in a minute. But yeah, to me is, I think I started this thinking about tumbling specifically. But it goes into everything. To me, just one of the most valuable and underrated and underutilized skills for any cheerleader, and perhaps just human beings in life in general, is handstands. They literally teach everything that we do in terms of stability, strength, you know, all of that stuff that you need to be a good cheerleader, upper body, core strength. You know, we do tons of legs work, so I'm never really worried about that. I know you're not using, I mean, you even squeeze your legs together. My legs will cramp when I'm pointing my toes properly in a handstand sometimes. But yeah, I just think it's a super valuable skill. It should be pretty much accessible to everybody at home in whatever space you've got, unless you've got really low ceilings, and then do headstands. You maybe need a wall. And there's so many things you can do. It's just, for me, it's been one of the best skills I've ever learned that I feel has built my all-round athletic ability, is holding handstands and walking on my hands. I just think it's super, super important. So that was the thing. But so now I want to expand this, because neither of us specifically threw out there, to conditioning in general, because I was sure one of us was gonna really get in, and we kind of have with drills and what I've been saying. But probably the most, and nobody will want to hear it, but maybe the most effective and beneficial thing you can do at home while you can't get in the gym is condition. Because, in the words of the legendary Mark Bell, one of my favorite powerlifting coaches, strength is never a weakness. So if you can get stronger, if you can get fitter, all of these things, you have the opportunity to step back in the gym after a year. In fact, some people haven't even, been back in the gym in that long, a better athlete in general than you left. Maybe all your aches and pains have recovered a bit as well, which might have helped. So but that's the opportunity you have. If you're dedicating the same amount of time that you would not, let's say you normally train 4 hours a week or something, which is probably about average for a lot of cheer athletes in the gym. If you take that 4 hours a week and spend the entire time doing strength and conditioning work, because you can't do all of your team skills, I mean, that's going to make a significant impact in what you're doing. Now, I mean, I'd recommend lots more hours than that per week, to be honest. But conditioning, I mean, it has to be just an incredibly important thing, and is accessible to everyone. And like I say, nobody's going to want to hear this. Everybody wants anything but conditioning most of the time.
Next video.
Yeah. But there's ways to make it fun if you're into that whole kind of thing. There are so many different options out there. And again, if you've never tried Pilates and you want to know what that's about, sure. Well, I mean, you didn't have time before because you were focusing on cheerleading. Now you can explore Pilates, you can explore yoga, you can try CrossFit, my whole thing. There's 1,000 different ways of working out. YouTube is a gold mine of stuff. Well, there's a lot of random stuff on there that you've got to be careful with as well. But, there's an opportunity to expand your horizons in how you work out, and find something that you do love that will,
maybe that's a future video for you to make. Creative ways to do conditioning at home with your teammates.
I will work on that. I mean, to be honest, the open class that I did this past week was creative conditioning. It's the most fun I've had in ages. I might have nearly killed some people, but it was an absolute blast. Did a thing called the routine simulator, which, I mean, I won't go into the whole thing, but it was fantastic for me to watch. It was hilarious. It was super high paced. Everybody seemed to really enjoy it if they survived. But yeah, there are so many options. And I think it is something people have been naturally quite focused on, because, most of my Zoom classes I do are built around conditioning one way or another. They have different focuses and stuff, but there's always a warm up and a workout in there, almost always. And, I know people are doing their Joe Wicks workouts. My mum and dad do their Joe Wicks seniors workouts in the morning. And, it is something that I think people have become focused on and aware of, which is good. But if from an athlete perspective, if you have high ambitions as a cheer athlete and you want to be in the best possible shape when you get back into the gym, and a lot of gyms now are going to be right back into tryouts almost the second they reopen. I know a lot of programs are planning on starting over rather than finishing out the season, or sort of combining those two things. So if you want to make a particular team, how are we back to talking about, I want to make a particular team? But, conditioning is the base of everything you do. All the skills is built on a foundation of athleticism, strength and fitness. Strength is something that gets ignored far too much for my liking. We focus a lot on cardio, and when strength is underrated. So, But yeah, I'm waffling a bit. That's my handstands was my original number one, but I'm expanding it to all conditioning.
No, I think it's a fair point, but I think they all kind of complement each other. So like, although our 6 points are quite different in ways, they're all relative as well, because they're all about basically staying involved and staying in touch. And I don't just mean staying involved or in touch with people, but staying involved or in touch with cheerleading in general. And, you know, if you feel like you are working out every day, regardless of how that conditioning looks, if you're doing quite intense conditioning, like you're describing, doing handstands or shape work or home tumble drills or whatever it is, if you feel like you're doing that, then the kind of the mindset is, I'm contributing to what my success is going to be when I come back, or when I do get back, or when we get back, or collectively when we get back. And I think that that's part of the battle, isn't it? Like, if you think you've done the work, going back is going to be easier because you don't think you're going to struggle or be the liability or whatever kind of, you know, mindset might be going through your head at that time. So I think that's quite a nice way to kind of bring them all together.
Yeah, and having focus and purpose, I mean, might be the most overridingly difficult thing. I mean, certainly, I think the hardest thing I found about this whole lockdown is times where I didn't have a focus to my day or a purpose to, you know, that day, or longer than that. I just didn't feel like I had, and then you just sort of drift around from sofa to bed to meal, and you know, that's when the the darkness drifts in a little bit, if you like. That's when it can get really, really hard. So yeah, by maintaining your focus and your purpose, even with, you know, cheerleading isn't obviously the be all and end all. There's much more in life, but if that's something that you can focus on and, like you say, keep working towards to have that and make that a part of your life, then that's a massive thing that should be therapeutic for a lot of people, I think.
Nicely said.
Cool. All right. Well, there we go. That's our top tips for what hopefully our cheer athletes should be doing. I mean, I'm sure all of our athletes are already doing this. They're already watching this going, already done all that. I thought you were going to tell me something new. But yeah, that's our top tips. I like this format. I think we're going to do this. We're going to do this again with some different subjects. This is a good one.
I'm down.
Hopefully nice and easy for people to sift through for the information as well. So
that's true as well.
Cool. Well, Rob, thank you so much for joining me. It's been an absolute pleasure. And yeah, we'll definitely we'll try and do this again soon. It's gonna be good.